What's up, guys? Happy Friday. Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. So Jesse will be popping in a little bit, but for now, you've got me. Yay. So a couple things to go over, I guess. First and foremost, let me tell you, our AC went out. So if you guys don't know, our AC is actually what got James and myself into real estate. So we kind of have this ongoing tradition, right? Like every year we have to have an issue that comes up with our AC. So that came up yesterday. And of course, it's 105, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense for June, but that's where we're at. So 105, our AC stops working. What's up, Terry? So we're scrambling. James came home from work early today, so we finally got the AC situated, and we were sitting at the table talking this morning, kind of cracking jokes. We're like, oh man, it's our annual tradition. And I just kind of had to chuckle a little bit because every year about the same time, it's a reminder for why we are where we are and why we're in the business that we're in. So it's kind of like a nice little reminder from the universe or from God or whatever you believe in. It's like, hey, the AC's out. How are you going to fix it this year? So that's fun. What's up, Jesse? Did you hear my whole
What
AC
up,
story?
friend?
Did I tell you our
again?
AC went out? Our AC went out again.
Your AC went out again?
Yeah, so
You've
remember,
got to be kidding me.
Yeah, I remember. So I was just telling everybody, I was like, it's our annual reminder. Every year, it's like a nice reminder from the universe. It happens once a year.
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, that happened to be yesterday. So this morning, while we were in our company meeting, the dogs were barking, the kids were screaming. I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? The AC guy was at the front door. So he's hearing me screaming, trying to figure out how to get everything else to stop screaming. And we've got our company meeting going on. The guy's at the door. I open the door. The boys are in their diapers. They're in their birthday suit, and this guy's just standing there with this look of fear on his face, like, oh my gosh.
Did you welcome him in? Take a seat. You can hang your birthday suit up here. We've got snacks. We've got goldfish. We've got your apple juice over here in the corner.
It was horrifying. And so I called James. I'm like panicking. I'm texting you. I'm like, oh, dude, there's so much going on right now. The kids are freaking out. The dogs are freaking out. I'm freaking out. And text James, and he is like such a calm and collected person. He's like, okay, don't worry. We'll just come home now. I was like, I thought you said he'd be here at 1.
So he's there right now, or he came already?
He came, James. So what happened? This is a new one. This is a plot twist in our AC endeavors.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, plot twist. Usually it's
Was it the chimney guy? You thought it was the AC guy, and it was like the chimney guy showed up.
The chimney sweep. It was what's that guy's name from Mary Poppins? He showed up with the thing over his shoulder. Yeah, there we go. That guy. No, it was the thermostat. The thermostat went bad. So the AC wasn't reading the thermostat. So James came home. I know, whole superhero moment on my husband's part. He came home, got the boys down for a nap, got the AC situation figured out. and then got the girls, took them to go get a new thermostat. And I'm just sitting there, just like drenched in sweat, like, oh my gosh, what's happening?
Well, thank goodness it wasn't like a $15,000 problem.
I know.
Like, let's just replace the thermostat here. Dude, that's a win. It's because it's Friday.
Such a win. It's because it's Friday. Yeah. So
beautiful day.
They're just kind of like reminiscing on the whole fact that, you know, it's my annual reminder for why I am in the business I'm in. It all started with the AC, and I'm willing to bet it'll all end with the AC. That's going to be what kills me. It'll be 106 in the house and the AC blows up.
You should write a book, man. Dude, what an awesome way to start stacking wins for the day, though.
Right? So,
oh, yeah.
It's just like, all right, cool. This is what we're doing today. Everything's freaking out. I'm just going to sit here and bring myself back in, enjoy being here with good friends. My superheroes out in the living room. So
here we are. Likewise. Man. I'm excited to be here, guys. So we got Terry in the comment. Freddie Rivas, what's up, baby? Good afternoon, Terry. T-Dog, T-Dizzle. T-Dizzle is in the house. I bet Terry's got a big tattoo on his back that says T-Dizzle on it. I bet they used to call him T-Dog back in high school.
I figured it'd be like T-Bird. It seems like a good name.
Oh, that's such a T-Bird. I like it. Yeah. You ever watch Seinfeld?
I try not to.
Oh, look who we got here. Dude, I got to give this guy a big-ass hug next week.
And you're going to give him an extra one for me.
I'm going to give him a smack on the ass for me, and then I'll give him a hug for you.
I was like, I don't know if he'll appreciate that.
A hug. A hug. Hug from Carlin. This is from Jesse. Just like, hell yeah. Oh, I love it, guys. Thank you guys for being here. Man, I love Fridays. You know, I went to the gym this morning, and I was talking with the guy at the counter. And I said something to the tune of, good morning, happy Friday. And he's like, well, actually, it's my Monday. And you know instantly where my mind went? He's like, it's my Monday, and I work the weekend. I get off on Monday. Today's my Monday. Friday's his Monday, and then Monday is his Friday. And this was such a neat thing for me, like a neat reframe for me. Instantly, without even thinking about it, the first thing that came out of my mouth was like, oh my gosh, what a blessing that Friday comes twice a week for you. You get to start work on Friday, and you get a Friday when everybody else is dreading starting the week. How blessed are you? What an amazing and wonderful thing. Super dope. I've noticed a big difference in my life since I've started looking for and stacking those wins in my life. And I get to see them in other people's life. That's awesome.
Dude, the first win with the AC was the fact that it didn't blow James up this time.
That is a plus. But at the same time, you are on his life insurance. We would hate to see James go. Just trying to reframe here.
Like, man, Carly's buying a lot of properties. Where's James at?
Oh, I love it. Jim says, slap on ass is always welcome. I love it, bro. Thank you. I will remember that. Terry says, T-Bird for Ford Thunderbird.
Just don't ask for the Stanton swap meet.
Oh, guys, can you not tell that we enjoy doing this? Is this not fun or what? I wish everybody could come in here and just have as much fun as we do doing these podcasts. And it's all due to you guys. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it. Happy Friday to everybody. Thank Growth It's Friday. Carlin, did you guys? I apologize. We had some properties that were in the middle of taking down, so I'm just a few minutes late. Did you guys? What announcements did you guys go through?
Literally nothing. They were just listening to me ramble on about my AC endeavors.
Perf. Awesome. Well, now we got some stacking the wins. Throw in the comments, guys. What was a win? Give me one freaking win. We've given you guys a couple already. I even gave you one from somebody else. They came in today like, oh, today's my Monday. It's like, oh my gosh, what a blessing. Friday comes twice a week for you. Not many people get that. Hold on to it. Embrace it. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So we've got a win from Carlin. I got to go tanning today, so I'm super excited about that.
Dude, I can tell you're getting there.
Dude, thank you for being able to tell. I was worried that I was going to look like, a Cheeto or something, but I don't have like the orange complexion going on. It's a little bit more, got a little bit more pigment in it. And I'm happy
the
with it.
the Cheeto only happens with the spray tans. That's what they don't tell you.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, the spray tan is what gets that nice orange pigmentation.
Gotcha. Well,
ooh, Terry.
I don't have to worry about that. T-Dizzle said, I got a property under contract and he's got equity share in it.
Boom.
I love that. In class last night, we were talking about just how many different ways there are to make money just by putting chess pieces on the chessboard. And we got one of the things that got brought up was an acquisitions, paying yourself when you buy properties, an acquisitions fee. And that's why I love I love buying properties, because I was able to replace my active income from wholesaling just from buying properties. And it's honestly, it's not as uncommon. I think I've done a pretty good job of kind of getting that word out there and just letting more and more people know that, hey, this is a thing and people are doing this. This isn't like this big foreign concept. I don't think a lot of people really communicate those things, like being able to pay yourself up front. It's foreign. It's a foreign concept to a lot of people, but everybody that's out here buying properties and investing at a higher level, like that's not even something that they have. That's not even something that they're thinking about just because it's something that they do every single time. It's like, well, of course we got to underwrite the property, right? It's just like a natural thing. So it's like, of course I'm going to pay myself. Like, why would I not pay myself? And so, just kind of putting these people in the right place. I want to read you guys another comment that somebody put on Facebook that I came across that talks about some of this stuff. So just so you guys get it from different perspectives. And this gentleman was talking about getting into multifamily. And he said, you find the deal, structure it, raise 30 to 35% of the capital with investors and an agreement to pay them annual interest and the percentage of cash flow normally. The other 65 to 70% is financed through the bank based on the financials of the property and your net worth. Now, in the beginning, you'll need a sponsor, like a co-signer. Obviously, if you've never done a deal or don't have the credibility, the experience, then yeah, you just go, that's just another chess piece. It's like, oh, I just need somebody else who can come in and co-sign on this loan. Like, let me just put them on the chessboard real quick. So they'll sponsor the loan and basically sign with the bank, and they'll get, a 10% carve out of that deal for basically lending you their track record to get the deal financed. But sign next to them, and in the eyes of the bank, you'll be on the road to being able to sponsor deals yourself. I just took a 3-day seminar on multifamily, LOL, but just for finding and structuring the deal. Guys, pay attention to this last part right here. Just for finding and structuring the deal. That is a skill. Just for finding and structuring the deal, you get paid 3 ways. You get an acquisitions fee up front, a percentage of the cash flow, and when you sell, after you've done all the value adds, raise rents, lower expenses, increase occupancy, etc., you get paid on the back end of this thing too. And that's what we teach our clients.
It's like a money sandwich right there.
Think strategically. I want everybody to be coming in and thinking strategically. So often we get we put ourselves in the position of like, man, I've got to do everything. I've got to come up with all the ideas. I've got to completely do everything from beginning to end. And when you do that, you inevitably end up putting yourself where you are working in your business and not on your business. And you're not really empowering the people underneath you, the people around you. You're missing out on great ideas and great opportunities. And so it's one of the things we put in there. So this is awesome, Terry, that You got a property under contract and equity share. Amazing, bro. Well freaking done. I need like a bell or so. Oh, actually, you know what?
Oh yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Celebrate. Awesome. Terry, guys, give Terry congratulations. That's dope, man. That is freaking dope. Derek Witten says multifamily is definitely a team sport. You know, I think real estate, in my experience, real estate in general is a team sport. As soon as you want to start scaling, you want to do more than just a couple deals a year. Like real estate, absolutely 100% is a team sport, bro.
I think of it as
I can't tell
like
if the internet's cutting out. Did I just lose everybody?
no, I'm here. Do you know you're
Am
here?
I cutting out?
Yeah.
I am. Oh, man.
Tell the moose to stay away from the satellite again.
I might need to go look. So real quick, we've got a couple announcements real quick. So what do we have going on later today, Carlin?
So the biggest thing I would like to highlight is that we're actually moving book club back an hour. So for the people who have been in book club, it's always been at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Mm-hmm.
The unanimous vote, Haley and I put a poll up on Facebook about 2 weeks ago, and the verdict is that it will be at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time now. So that's 5 p.m. Mountain Standard, 4 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Central. I just translated all of the time zones. I'm getting good at it. 3 p.m. Alaska. I haven't figured out Hawaii.
I think they're 2 hours behind me, unless depending on when the time zone shifts, and then they're an hour behind me.
Yeah, but all in all, I say that to say book club is at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time now. It is going to remain bi-weekly, which happens to fall on today. And this book actually ties directly into what we're talking about today, Jesse. So this book is called Surrounded by Idiots. And it kind of takes a left turn from what you would expect with the title. Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting. Like I was telling Haley this morning, I said, I'm about halfway through this book, and instead of finishing the book right away, I think what I'm actually going to do is go back to the beginning of the book and start it over. Because there's just been so much said and so impactful that it's kind of like taking a little bit to digest it.
Tell me more. What does that mean? What is that book about? Surrounded by Idiots.
So it basically stems on communication, which is what we're talking about today, actually. And the concept of the book is the way that we communicate with people based on, in this case, the color that they would be. So you've got reds, you've got yellows, you've got greens, you've got blues, and all of these align with different personality characteristics. And so each one of these types of personalities are going to be communicated with in a different way. So if you're trying to communicate with a dominant, a red person, which most of us know is like a type A personality, a very straightforward, straight shooter, like get to the point, say what you need to say so I can go do something else now. Yep. You're not going to be able to communicate the same way with that type of person as someone who's blue, which is a conscientious. They're a little bit more analytical. They're going to want to know the details, the fine print, basically. Yep. So if you're talking to a red, you're going to say, hey, this is the overview of what the contract says, sign it, leave it, whatever. If you're talking to a blue, they're going to say, okay, cool. Can you read me the smaller details that are in this contract? I'd like to understand a little bit more. And all of that stems back to communication, because people are different. Everyone's uniquely designed. Everyone has a different way that they need to understand things. Yeah. Which means as people, as leaders, as businessmen and women, we need to learn and understand how to communicate with each types of those people, because one shoe does not fit all.
How do you know what color you are? What color am I?
I would put you as like a yellow. Like, you're very sociable, you're enthusiastic, you're very good at communication, you use a lot of humor, you use a lot of storytelling, you use a lot of your personal experiences to be able to convey and relate what you're trying to say.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, red, yellow. I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that, Debbie.
So
So
why is it important for people to understand what they are?
because if you're trying to, like, if you don't understand how you need to be communicated with, then you cannot communicate that with someone else.
Mm.
Like, if I don't understand, like, I do a lot of speaking in metaphors, speaking in analogies, things like that. Like, my
Sure.
brain thinks where it's like earlier you're talking about real estate, the different chess pieces. My brain, the way it works is you're saying these things, and my brain's like, oh, this is like CSI, this is like NCIS, like we're working as a team to solve this case. Like, we've got the bulletins, like the pins here, the pin here, the pin here, the pin here, the pin here, and the victim of this whole situation is the property. We're trying to figure out all these pins that we need to have in place to be able to get the property to solve the
Sure.
case. And that's how my brain works. So if I didn't understand that, then I wouldn't be able to correlate and put these things together. So if you don't have an understanding of the way you need to be communicated with, then you can't communicate that to the person who is in turn trying to communicate with you, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. So there's how many different colors? There's 4 different colors, and everybody
Yeah.
fits into one of those colors.
No, that's kind of where it gets interesting. You can be more than one color.
Okay.
Like Debbie said, you, from my perspective, from the lens I'm looking through, Jesse, would be a red yellow person. You're very straight to the point. You get to the point, but you also do it in a way where you're telling a story. So you communicate through stories and through directness. You're not going to like dance around and be like, well, the synopsis of this one situation over here in the hypotenuse of the triangle in the left field next to the corner pole, like that's going to be a little bit more towards the blue characteristic. So while we fall generally heavily into one category, it's not a one size fits all. Like I said earlier, you can have 1 or 2 different colors that you identify with. It's kind of like he's definitely a problem solver. Yep, that's very true, Debbie. It's kind of like a personality test. When I was in high school, I was in this program called School of Choice. It was for kids that were a little bit more rambunctious, like ADD, ADHD. So you can imagine these teachers are like, okay, how do I communicate with these kids who are off the walls? And so the first thing that we would do in this program, you'd get into school and they'd say, here's a personality test. What we're going to do is you're going to do this personality test. You're going to understand the best way you learn and the best way you communicate. And everything you do through the school year is going to be based on your way of learning.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm very kinesthetic. I'm a hands-on. So a lot of the way that I would do my schoolwork was through projects. I, as you know, love poster boards, and that's what a lot of my projects were revolved around.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's kids that are musically inclined. So when they would be receiving the information, they would be doing their presentations like you're very musically inclined. You'd make your presentation based on music. So if we're learning about the Declaration of Independence, everything you learn, you're going to go write a song about the Declaration of Independence and then present that to the class.
Interesting. Wow. So how does that how come they don't do that for most people, you think?
Fuck if I know.
Do you think it's something that they should do?
100%, because it goes, and this is something I personally can preach on forever. Not everybody learns the same way, and that's a big part of why we do what we do in the Growth Co. is trying to relay the information in as many ways possible. It's almost like a game in my head. How can we do something in 10 different ways. How are we going to communicate the information in 10 different ways? Like the only thing I'm not doing at this point is writing raps.
You leave that to me.
Yeah, I'll leave that to you. That's your area of expertise. But why this information is so protected, I don't understand, because everyone's different. Everyone has different personalities. Everyone has different learning styles.
Yeah.
And if we don't take these things into account, then there's absolutely no way that we can communicate all the information we have and expect everybody to understand it.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? The more like successful individuals that I've talked to and have researched, when it comes to like the public school system, like I have heard people blatantly say out loud, I do not give a shit what grade my kids get.
I don't.
Why? Why don't you care? Why don't you think other people care? Does it tie into anything about what we're talking about, you think?
So much. And it's something that, like, so I have 2 kids in elementary school right now. One of them, notorious for straight A's. The other one, she's about a C average student. But the thing that is interesting to me is even with her C's, she always has an A in science. And so I'd rather focus on the A in science because that's what she cares about. That's what she's passionate about.
Yeah.
Does she have the understanding of math? Yeah. Can she read? Yeah. But she is stoked to tell you about the ocean. She knows fucking everything about the ocean. You could be like, hey, child of mine, what's the deepest point? And she'd be like, oh, actually, let me tell you. And I think a big part of it is, like, at least for my generation growing up, a lot of the focus is, hey, you've got an F. That's great. I have an A in creative writing. Are we not going to talk about that?
Right. Let's explore that. Let's take that and how can we build on that? How can we communicate to that individual's learning style and at the same time exploit her strengths or his strengths?
It's interesting, isn't it?
Super interesting. And then you have to be able to communicate that. You have to be able to acknowledge those things first, and then you have to be able to communicate that.
It's interesting to just see the shift, because while we grew up in a generation of it's like you have to have straight A's, you need to like try and get a 4.0, try and do this, try and do that. Why do you have an F here? Like you have a C-. What's going on here? I don't care. I just show up for creative writing. You guys are lucky I show up for that because that's something I care about. That's something I'm passionate about. I don't care about physics. I already understand what inertia is. Why do I have to do the homework for it? But ask me to sit down and write you a story. I'll do it. And it'll be the best fucking story you've ever read because that's what I care about.
Let me ask you something, Carlin. If you were to sit down and write a story, this might be really interesting. I don't know if you've ever thought about this before. If you were to sit down and write a story and you have a goal, you have an end date when that thing's going to be done, you know what you want to write a story about. Going through that journey of writing this story and going through that process, because that's something you're so involved in and just love doing and exploring and educating yourself on it. Do you think at anywhere in that journey, are you like, oh, fuck, wait a minute, hold on, I need to take a pause in my creative process real quick. I need to go get on the Instagram and see what J.K. Rowling is doing?
No.
Is that your first thought process? Like, are you like, man, how can I want to do this, but man, I'm not J.K. Rowling yet. And then start comparing yourself to J.K. Rowling? When you're in that zone, are you doing that at all?
No, the thing about it is in the example of writing, from my personal experience, because I genuinely do love writing, I'm going to go read J.K. Rowling's books for inspiration. I'm going to go read Nora Robert or Stephen King or whatever I'm writing about. I'm going to go read their books for creative inspiration, not to see where I'm not succeeding, but to see how they can trigger new thoughts in my brain to be able to write a good story.
I love that. Now, let me ask you something. Conversely, if you were to do something you were not confident in or not good in, and it was consistently a task or a chore, do you think you would inherently find yourself comparing yourself to everybody else doing that thing?
I don't know if I understand your question correctly.
Okay, do you love to cold call?
But, dude, no.
Okay. So if you're going to cold call all day and it's not something you enjoy doing, it's not part of your creative process, you're not in a zone doing it, dude, I know. Slapish!
Babe.
Yeah. What?
That's from Jesse.
That's not fair. Get Alex on the line.
So if you were cold calling or doing something that you detested doing, do you think you would find yourself slipping into more of that comparison? Like, man, I'm just not getting it. But this person's over here is like they're calling every day and they're locking up properties. And I just, oh my gosh, I'm having such a grind. Do you think you would be more inept to slip into that trap of comparing yourself?
So let's go back to the high school examples. Let's rewind and go back to that, because that's something I think most of us can understand and relate to. I went to a school where they had, the town itself has the most PhDs per capita in the world. I like writing. You could imagine PhDs in science aren't like, oh, she wrote a good story.
Right.
So I'm showing up to the, like, physics, that's a freshman thing. Most schools, that's what you do your senior year. But they have that, conversely, they have that freshman doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I did not show up for that class. Why? Because all of the kids I went to school with, their parents were physicists, their parents were mechanical engineers. Granted, my dad's a mechanical engineer, so I digress. But, like, they're all doing things that I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I don't necessarily care about gravity, and I don't care about inertia. And you know what? If that's what makes you guys happy, you guys do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be over here writing in my cute little spiral notebook, writing a story about, I don't know, a woman in the jungle. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go write about the woman in the jungle, because it is the crappiest feeling ever. Mm-hmm. To be in a class full of people who excel in something specifically and you are not up to that standard.
Yeah.
And I actually had, in physics, I might add, I was writing a story and I was, putting my little doodles on the paper, and I had a note from my therapist at the time saying that this was something that helped me retain information. So I would doodle pictures and I could look at that picture and remember how the conversation went in class that day. Mm-hmm. But this specific teacher didn't like that. So I remember I was listening, writing, doodling pictures, taking notes on the side, and she walks up to me and just rips my picture in half. And I was just like, needless to say, the choice words that came out of my mouth that day got me moved to a different class. But it goes back to learning styles and the way we communicate and the way we understand things. I needed to understand things in a way where I'm hands-on. I need something in front of me. I need to understand it. And so already in a subject that I'm not strong at, I essentially was communicated with that the way I needed to learn was not acceptable in that situation. Mm.
So how have you taken that experience and tailored that to your leadership style?
I don't ever want anyone to be in the position where they ask me for help and feel like I will not communicate with them in a way that they need to be communicated with. I'm willing to bet at some point that did happen.
Mm-hmm.
But if you communicate with me the way you need to receive information, I will do my absolute best to make sure that is how I give information to you.
What are some of the ways that you find what, like, as a leader, communication is everything. I would dare say over 90% of the problems in anybody's business, probably even more, we could probably even say 99%, can be solved through just communication. I mean, think
Yeah.
about how think about things that are not getting done in your business. Think about people that are falling short. When was the last time I've talked to leaders? I've talked to CEOs
Mhm.
who are frustrated with how their business is going, with the lack of progress that they're getting. They're frustrated with the processes that they have in place. They're frustrated with the people that they've put in certain positions. And I asked them, well, have you talked to them about these frustrations? And they're
Mhm.
like, well, no, they should just freaking know. It's like, well, there you go. We
There
need
it
to be
is.
able to address these. You need to be able to set the standards. You cannot be upset or frustrated with somebody. And I know it sounds funny. These are very, very simple things. The people that are making money, I have noticed, they don't know things that nobody else knows necessarily. What they're doing is they're not leaving any stone unturned. They are looking at every little thing. And it's like, oh, well, if I don't want my business ran this way, have I addressed this? And
Yep.
sometimes being able to be an effective communicator means you're going to be put in situations where you're going to have an uncomfortable conversation. You're going to have to reframe things. You're going to have to set a standard that people may or may not like or approve of.
I wanna backpedal a little bit to something you said. Was uncomfortable conversations. It might be uncomfortable for you on the giving end, I guess,
Yeah.
but that doesn't mean it's uncomfortable on the receiving end. Those are feelings that we put into our own heads, in our own space, in our own place, because that's an uncomfortable conversation for us. That's an uncomfortable topic for us. It's like talking about finances or feelings. If you're not comfortable talking about those things, that's going to be uncomfortable for you. You don't get to dictate that that's an uncomfortable conversation for the person on the other side of things.
Yep.
So
I agree.
that was just my little rant right there.
No, it's definitely worth putting out there. You know, I remember when I was in the Air Force, when you go from an airman to an NCO, it's an acronym. It means non-commissioned officer. So when you make that transition from an airman to a non-commissioned officer, that is your official graduation into a corps of leaders. You are officially in an official capacity, a leadership position. And so everybody who's going from an airman to an NCO has to go through a leadership course called ALS, which stands for Airman Leadership School. And Airman Leadership School is where you learn basic leadership concepts. You learn how to communicate effectively. You learn how to give feedback. You learn how to take feedback. And I remember running some of these scenarios through Airman Leadership School. I remember the first time I had to come up in front of the class and we were role playing. And the scenario that we were role playing that I had to role play in was, and I know you guys have all seen this before, is talking to the individual in your work center that stinks. They just have terrible body odor. And everybody complains about it. It is a huge distraction to everybody. We can't focus. You can't get work done. You can't do nothing because this person just does not understand basic personal hygiene concepts. And so as a leader, those are some of the uncomfortable conversations you got to have. And that's a scenario where it might be uncomfortable for both of you. And that could also be, and that was a real thing that happened, but that could also be a metaphor for things going on in your business. You got to address I guess it's the equivalent of saying, we got to address the elephant in the room. Got to address the stinky kid in the room. And sometimes it's not, the most comfortable thing in the world, but it's those little things like that you continue to tolerate, that you don't address, that you don't hold people to a specific standard within your business. And all of that can be fixed through nothing else than just verbalizing things, communicating things.
The stinky kid might not know they stink.
They might not.
So I've actually dealt with literally that situation. And it was interesting because I was in the food service industry, like the worst place to be a stinky kid.
Yep.
And I worked with this girl. She was absolutely fabulous, great personality. Her and I got along really well. But the odor was very apparent. And yeah, it was a very uncomfortable conversation. And at the end of it, she was just like, hey, thank you. I didn't realize that was a problem. I didn't realize that other people could smell me, which is a little bit odd in some aspects, but things, I can't remember what movie it is in. Things are not always as they appear. That person might not know. If you don't address it, they don't know. They might be more grateful than embarrassed. They might be thankful. You might have just made a big difference for the projection of their life. Could you imagine going through your entire life having all of these people saying these things about you, and all it would have taken was one person to say, hey, this is what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So in terms of communication, especially in these kinds of situations, if you know something, you're doing that person a disservice by not communicating it to them.
And not only not communicating it, how more effective are you going to be as a leader with maintaining relationships, maintaining buy-in, if you understand and you know people's communication style?
So I was just reading Megan's comments. It made me giggle.
My perfume was ranch and mayo, all because I worked at Subway.
I'm gonna let you know, Megan, I'm an Italian dressing kind of gal. So
I would never complain about that.
So I'd just be hungry around you all the time.
So it's important to understand these different colors and how people are, so that you know how to communicate, how you know how to give and receive information. So we've talked about red. We've talked about yellow. What else have we got?
There's the green and the blue. So the green here, I've got a literal definition of each one of these characteristics.
Perfect.
So let's start at green. I can read you the characteristics of each of them if you want. Green is characterized as patient, reliable, and supportive. Greens are good listeners who value harmony and cooperation, often putting others' needs before their own. Their communication style, this is interesting because I was doing a little bit of research before we hopped on here. And it just short summary. So if you guys really want to dive deep into this, please check out Book Club. This is what we're focusing on for the next couple weeks. So the communication style is friendly and considerate. They prefer calm and measured discussions focused on building relationships and understanding others' perspectives. So that to me is the one that stood out about my personal characteristics. I want to know everything you're thinking and understanding so I can understand it too. I like to put myself in the shoes of someone else. And if I can't do that, then I don't know how to resolve an issue. So blue is conscientious. Characteristics are analytical, detail-oriented, and systematic. Blues are methodical and value accuracy, often preferring to work alone or in structured environments. Their communication style is precise and factual. They appreciate details and well-organized information, often asking questions to clarify and ensure understanding.
Which one would you say you are?
I personally think I'm kind of somewhere between yellow and green. So a yellow is influential, characterized as sociable, enthusiastic, and optimistic. Yellows are outgoing and energetic, thrive in social settings, and enjoy interactions with others. Their communication style is warm and engaging. They enjoy storytelling, lively conversations, and often use humor and emotion to connect with others. So for me, I see myself somewhere between green and yellow. Those are the two that relate to me the most. Like I love being around other people. I love understanding their emotions. I love understanding what they've been through in life. I love really being able to figure out where and how I can help someone. And I need to understand all of their background for me to be able to be like, oh, okay, here, let me put myself right here and let me see how I can solve a problem here.
Okay, that makes sense. So reading this book, was it again? People are idiots.
Surrounded by idiots.
Surrounded by idiots. So Surrounded by Idiots breaks down these 4 things and talks about, does it give it from the perspective of a leader or just anybody, or
it does it in a really interesting way. I don't really know exactly how to convey how it is conveyed. Like it's basically saying, you know, if you're not trying to understand these people, it's kind of backwards, honestly, because the book title, it's like, oh, all these people around you are stupid. They're so dumb. Like that's the way we would interpret it.
right?
But one of the things he says at the introduction is he says, if you're not taking the time to learn other people, you are the idiot.
Ooh. And so because of that, the majority of the people are idiots because they're not taking the time to understand how to effectively communicate with everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. You know, one of my favorite sayings is the most expensive thing is the information you don't know.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Wow. Interesting. Awesome, Carlin. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I know we're coming up on top of the hour. In wrapping this thing up, where can people go to learn more information about this? They've got the book.
Or about communication?
Both. Just everything we've kind of just been digesting today. Like, in addition to all of this, like, are there any other references or things that you have taken and digested as you've incorporated and grown your own personal self-development and your leadership style and the way that you communicate and interact with people?
There are so many resources that I have for learning leadership and communication. And so I would always, always, always suggest, I'll beat the crap out of it until the day I die. John C. Maxwell is one of my favorites when it comes to leadership and communication. I don't know if that's because I'm surrounded by military and that's like what's drilled into you guys' head. But one of the books that Maxwell just released is called High Road Leadership. And he kind of delves into communication and the way that we need to be working with people to be able to say we're a high road leader, basically. Mm-hmm. So if you want more resources, I've got resources. I can compile a list of those. But for the sake of conversation, if you really want to kind of like have an open dialogue about it, we are, like I said at the beginning, we're having book club tonight. And the whole focus of book club is being able to communicate and being able to articulate our thoughts and kind of convey the way we received information from the book we're reading. And it just so happens, literally, the book we're reading right now is on communication. So
in short, what you're saying is don't be an idiot. Come to book club.
Yeah, don't be an idiot. Come to book club.
Okay, where can everybody go to join book club at? Where can they get
my
more
girl Haley? If she's still in here, we'll be posting the link a couple times throughout the day. Book club is bi-weekly, so let me just...
Where are they posting it?
In the Growth Co. So the Growth Co community, or the Growth Co main
Facebook group.
Facebook group. Thank you.
Got it. Okay.
How do I communicate? Yeah, so we'll have that. And then I believe Haley also sends out an email. So I'll be circling back around to make sure she has an email going out that with the book club link so you can get registered. And then also make sure that we are all clear on the fact that the time is changing.
Okay, so 7 p.m. Eastern time tonight.
Tonight.
All right, cool. All right, guys. Hope you guys have an awesome Friday. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Then Growth is Friday. Thanks for jumping in, guys.
TGIF, bro.